All right, folks, we are going to start tonight's meeting here. Welcome to Knox Makers Tuesday Night Show and Share. Show of hands, who's first time at a Tuesday Night Show and Share? A lot of first-time visitors. Well, welcome. Tuesday nights are our chance to get together and show off what we've been working on, what we've completed, what we're still not done with, what we're stuck on, what we failed at. We welcome all types here. It's one big happy family when it comes to making. So we have quite a few names on the list tonight, so why don't we get started? First up will be Russell, who is showing a lamp and ornaments.
Big surprise, huh? All right, I promised Tracy I would stay at about 3 minutes, but I do have two things actually. So first, a lamp, which was actually a commission job. Plug him in. We have, let's see, what do we have here? Cable TV, can you hear me? Cable TV parts. These are cable TV fittings, old copper wire, insulator, silver, I think it's a sugar canister maybe, because I've seen coffee canisters that match that. It has a little glass thing that goes inside of it, but I don't have it. And a light bulb. And this one's simple, doesn't do anything special. The insulator is lit with an LED from the bottom and just has one single turn him off and on switch. And there it is, just like that. Billy, it's a lamp. And I wanted to show you also about a couple of files off of Etsy to do some Christmassy things. And I made these on the laser cutter. Made these little ornaments. This was a flat, as you can tell, this used to be a flat, like double spiral, but it's all one piece of wood. The hard part is actually getting the spiral apart. After that, it's pretty easy to put the part inside that keeps it separated. And the file had all kinds of stuff in the middle. There's a star. There's some candy canes. And there were 3 or 4 other things, and also just a circle, so if you wanted to do your own file, you could put your initials or, whatever in there. So I'll pass these around. They're semi-fragile, but I'm not really worried about them because they're fairly easy to make. Fortunately, the file actually worked really well. Yes, sir.
So is there like a spiral, and one spiral goes up and another spiral goes down from the center?
Correct.
Wow, so it's one piece of wood.
One piece of wood for the whole spiral. Yeah.
Is it plywood?
Yeah, it's 3mm plywood. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's all there was to it. At first, I thought it was just one spiral and you had to put 2 together.
Yeah.
And then when I started looking at it, I couldn't figure out why there were 2 of these little notches here, because one's for the top, one's for the bottom, and used to they were next to each other. And I thought, well, what are there 2? And that's when I figured out, oh, you have to separate this and pull it apart, which is not easy. But anyway, there's that. All right. Anything else? All right. Pardon me, sir.
Oh, no problem. All right. Very cool. Seasonally appropriate. All right, coming up next, Keith will be showing some found object art.
Hello. It's a kind of found object, not entirely, but so the bottom 2 segments, one is a spalted hickory, the other one's a standard hickory. Turn those on the lathe. There's some leftover dichroic glass from my glass blowing days that I kind of just mixed up some white glass powder and 2-part epoxy and just kind of inlaid in the front of that for a little bit of zazz. The kind of stalks are braided aluminum wire that I had come across in a jewelry store. And then from the found object part comes all the sprockets, I guess starting from the fancier bit up top. Those are all bicycle rotors from mountain bikes, like a 200 millimeter, 180 millimeter, 160 millimeter. I opposed cut segments out and then bent them up and then at angles and then kind of stacked them in an opposed manner to kind of get a kind of a vortex type thing going. And then hit them with the torch a little bit because they're steel, so it brings out a little bit of color. It's kind of probably hard to see from your spot there, but and then some other little bits and pieces from rotors, some single speed bicycle sprockets, and then these were the front of handlebar shifters from an old drop bar road bike. And then a little bit of leftover glass from my Pyrex lamp working days I kind of set in the center for the flower. And then the piece of wood is actually kind of slick. I got some relatives out in Iowa and Ames, and they took a barn down. This is a whole bunch of like 100-year-old oak they were able to salvage from the barn. So I got a few pieces of that I've been using for some backing boards like this guy. But yeah. So do you guys have any questions at all? Yes.
Can you put the big flower underneath the...
Boy, I'll give it a whirl. Might be a little. Oh yeah. I'm brutal with technology. You have to give me a hand here.
So what are those spirally things?
Which piece is that?
Like the one you said made it look like a vortex.
Oh, those are like rotors from disc brake bicycles. So like a motorcycle rotor, even a car rotor. But I had cut sections out in between each one of them, and like bent them up, and then a little bit at an angle too as well. No, with a Dremel with a awful, those like ones that explode in your face, those little like kind of yeah, the ones that come with it. So yeah, I burned up the really fancy ones first, and then I was down to the skinny and just refused to leave. I was like, oh, the 30 minutes it takes to go to the store is nowhere near as bad as 3 hours of doing it with the wrong tool, you know? So like, yeah, I just suffer like that sometimes. Same with this kind of, the braids. I used the drill on the last piece to kind of spin them into rope, which was way more efficient. Braiding those by hand was brutal. You can see I got a little lazier on some of the other ones. There's a little bit more of a gap in between some of the smaller ones that I used. But yeah, the big one was like missing all sorts of skin when I was done with that one on my fingers. But yeah, thank you. What's that? Oh yeah, it's kind of this aluminum, like I think it's 8 or 6 gauge aluminum wire. And then the smaller ones I think is like a 10 or 12 gauge. I found it online. You can get it real cheap on Amazon in big spools. Not to pump that, but you can get also the fun colors now too. So that'll be that kind of next adventure. Now I've been using this kind of silver and black strictly at the moment, but one company had about 20 different anodized colors. So that'll be fun to kind of bring some like cooler, maybe like space age looking stuff with like purples and greens or something like that going forward. Thank you.
Coming up next, Jennifer will be showing some artwork. It won't require a giant easel this time.
All right, the first one is a drawing. I've shown, are you making fun of someone? I started with just a photo, and it doesn't really look like the photo any longer, so. Yes, it is. So that's that one. The next one is kind of a two-piece sculpture that I started. It's a turtle, and it actually hinges together on its base. If I can fit it together. I had started to paint it, and then didn't like the painting that I had started. So I sanded part of it back off, and I'm going to repaint it. But The base has a fish on it, an octopus, and some other sea life type items.
So does he float on that pivot? or-
Yes.
What's it sculpted from?
I'm sorry?
What's it sculpted from?
It's epoxy sculpt. The base is aluminum foil and floral wire. And then I put epoxy sculpt over top of it and formed it, filed it, sanded. Yeah, sorry. And then one day I got bored and came in and played with some clay and made a couple of mushrooms. And one of them fell apart, so he's kind of a failure. I tried to use hot glue, but this stuff doesn't stick back together with hot glue, so if anyone knows how to stick it back together. But, so, little mushrooms. I'm gonna paint them eventually. I'm just not sure what color. Any questions? Yes. It's a gibbon. Anything else?
Did you have a model or
It was a photo that I had found on Instagram. Anything else? All right, thank you.
Coming up next to keep the sculpture theme going, Jacob is going to show a D&D statue.
The actual artists are off the stage now, so I can go up there and show them. So we recently got a resin 3D printer. I've been trying to put it to work. So this is a failure, as you can see. The arm fell off. But I am trying to basically make about a 7-inch tall statue. That was just a little tiny D&D miniature, about 2 inches tall, scaled up, printed out, and I'm going to paint it. This is kind of became my test bed for colors, just to see what everything looked like, make sure they checked out. But yeah, I figure I'm going to fail a lot before I finally get one that looks good. So there's the failure.
So was the arm a separate piece and it just came disconnected, or did it not, did the
Uh,
fail?
No, the print just failed. If you look, the sword is broken, the arm fell off, and the base actually has a little defect right there. And so we're going to clean the printer because we think there was something stuck to the film of it, and it's just kind of weakened that right side entirely.
So it seems like if you're doing something that big, if you got a thing that was started out that big, it would have a lot more detail, whereas if you have something that's a miniature and you expand it, it's not gonna have the detail in it.
No, I mean, it keeps detail pretty well. Just because the way the miniature was made, I used a service called Hero Forge to actually model it, and then just bought the STL to scale. So they're pretty high detail miniatures, and they scale up pretty well. So, yeah. And then resin printers can do high resolution.
you had a service scale that up?
No, so
How do you get it from small to large?
I just did a scaling in Blender is what I use to just scale the STL. Yeah, because the actual STL, the actual miniature, is that 2-inch tall miniature. Yeah.
How much resin would that cost?
About $6, I think, is what the slicing software estimated. It's about 200 milliliters is what it roughly comes out to.
And I didn't hear, but did you paint it by hand?
Yeah, I'm painting it by hand. It's one of my first times doing a painting like this, and like I said, it's kind of became my test bed for colors. And if you look too closely, you'll see when I hit my third beer, though. So just put it on a shelf and look far enough away.
Do you have a sense of how long it took? It seems like it would take a long time.
Yeah, it's about a 12-hour print. Yeah. Yeah. All right, any other questions or anything? Cool.
Thank you, Jake. All right, last I have on my list right now is Bob, who is showing a bench and 3D knobs.
I think probably one of the most fun things I ever got as a boy toy was my 3D printer. And I just absolutely love being able to print something when I need it, right? So in the RV, the knob, the silver knob there on the cabinet broke. It's got plastic threads, you know, and so it you know, you touch it the wrong way and it broke. So I said, it's probably a 1/4-20. Well, took a 1/4-20 nut. No, it wasn't that. It's got to be a metric 6 then. So it is a metric 6 one, and I printed the replacement knob for it, like that. And then that's when it's pushed in, and that's when it's popped out. It's fantastic. I absolutely love the 3D printer. The only problem is that sometimes it comes, and I had to print it upside down because it has a tiny little ridge on the back. And the filament didn't come off of the build plate right or something, so it kind of destroyed the front edge of that. But anyway, so if anybody's got a solution on that, it's a Prusa printer. Using the smooth plate. So that's one project. Any questions on that one? Yeah.
What was the problem again?
The problem is that this surface is supposed to be smooth, but it's not.
Sometimes it's like the number of layers, so you might need some more top layers, because that looks like it's kind of just barely going over your infill.
It's the first layer is where it's screwed up.
Right, so you need to have it like 3 or 4 layers. Now do another one on top of that, another one on top of that. You can specify.
Yeah, I did that. Most of them came out smooth. Wait a minute. I took, where's today's picture? Well, shoot. Oh, I guess no, that's the one I was thinking of. Most of them, I did 16, and 11 of them came out absolutely smooth on the top. Just 5 of them had this, where when I can scratch it, I can feel that there's still filament on the plate. So I think I got to adjust my first layer thickness. I think.
Base, that's the first layer that's printed?
They're printed upside down.
I would say you want to print it the other way.
I can't. The reason being is that little ridge.
It can just do a little, it can do a filler. You can put your supports, you just do that in there, and then supports would come off.
I don't really want to do 16, you know, I've already gotten 3 orders from Facebook on these things, so I don't want to have to be cleaning them up a whole lot. So that's why I decided to print it upside down. And
Okay.
sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, so.
Question on the threads, did the threads modeled in there, or did you just size it so you could screw them onto the bolt?
The threads are an M6 nut embedded in the thing. I said I've had it with plastic threads, you know, and so that I use OpenSCAD, okay, as my design program, and the BOSL2 library has beautiful threading and nuts and everything in there. And I just said, put a nut here at this layer, and then it left the space. I told it to pause at that layer. I dropped the nut in and finished printing. It's really slick. Anything else? Okay, that's one project. And my wife is gone, so I didn't have anything else to do. So we had needed a bench in the front hall. And I had this crazy idea of why not take Baltic birch plywood, cut it into little pieces, turn it 90 degrees, and put the edges up. So these And then this basket weave pattern, these are, come back here, you. These here are like 60 millimeters long. I've converted to metric. I swear I'm never doing inches again. OpenSCAD does everything in metric, so so these are 60 millimeters by, what was it, I think 12 wide. Anyway, I just cut, bunches and bunches of them and arranged them. And then the little walnut squares, I made the same thickness as the plywood was, and put them all together on a plywood base, and then made maple sides and everything. And then this is cool. Okay, took me. There's 8 boards with the finger joint on it, okay? Took me 30 minutes to do all 8 boards on the table saw. And when I put it all together, when I finished, they just went together. That's another project as to how I did that. So next week.
So, are they really woven together?
No, they are individual pieces.
Right.
There's like 2 pieces right here and 2 pieces this way, and then on the ends here there's just a little short piece, but they are not woven. It just looks that way.
Right, right. It's an illusion, but it's.
It just bunches and
I mean, I was thinking you could have poured like polyester resin on top of it.
it would have been cool.
But
Yeah.
If it wasn't smooth, because you couldn't sand it, I mean, and so.
Yeah, I
If
actually
it was woven, you couldn't sand it.
no. Oh right, no.
This way, I mean, but it's cool that it's not woven, because you could, I've made stuff woven, and then, not for tabletop. But it is cool to weave it too, it's
Yeah.
hard, but that's also pretty painstaking in fitting all the pieces together, isn't it?
Yes, it was. And it's also kind of an optical illusion because I thought I was calculating the number, based on the number of little squares I had, how many walnut squares I needed, and I blew it. I had way more walnut squares than what I needed. So if anybody's got any ideas or need any little walnut squares, I've got plenty. You got a use for them? I'm sorry. You want some? I'll bring them. Yeah. Anything else? So, thank you.
All right. Is there anybody who didn't get on the list who has something to show? No? All right. Could we get a show of hands, some volunteers to help? Do we need to do air filters this week? Do we know? Okay, yeah. We'll help do some air filters and help take out the trash as well. So we'll just need some hands with that. All right, so events coming up. We have a new member onboarding, and that is going to be tomorrow. If you have not taken a new member onboarding and you are a trial member, that is a requirement for becoming a full member, is attending a new member's onboarding. Or if you are interested in joining, there's also a good time to come and learn just what Knox Makers is all about and who we are and what we do. So that will be tomorrow at 7. On the 15th at 6:30, we have Woodworking 101. There's still tickets available for that. The laser cutter authorization is sold out for this month. There is another event coming up on the 17th at 1 p.m. We have our another Stitch and Bitch. So that's our fiber arts meetup, and people go and they just hang out and have a good time. Second one, correct? Yeah. And then on the 18th at 10, we have a MIG Welding 101 class, and there are still tickets available for that. That is all that's coming up for this week. With that, we will...
Woodworking class needs 2 more people once we get
Oh, the woodworking class, the woodworking authorization class needs 2 more people to take it or it will get canceled. So if you are interested in getting authorized to use the wood shop, you must take that. So you can go to knoxmakers.org and get your tickets there.
Torch cutting class on Monday.
Next Monday? Not on the calendar. All right, just posted cutting torch class. You heard it here heard it here first, folks. So yeah, any other surprise announcements to make? Somebody post some classes in the last 30 seconds, no? All right. With that, we will close tonight's meeting and just open up the workshop for some open hack time. If you are new and haven't gotten a tour yet, see someone with a red badge. But other than that, go out, have some fun, and thank you for coming tonight.